Well, hello everyone and welcome to Painless Universal, conversation with myself and Welsh. Today's conversation is really about teaching you how to find your inner joy. Are you out there looking for your inner peace, inner joy? Thinking, how can you love yourself again? Well, my guest, Harriet Waley-Cohen, will teach you just how she's done this. She's won Best Storytelling and Most Memorable Speaker at the UK Female Speakers Conference in 2019. And was also given an award for leadership in the world by the Network of Transformational Leaders. She's a certified health coach, women leadership coach, and has a BSc in psychology. She's a speaker, she's a double certified coach, she's a mother, and she loves her dog. She empowers thousands of people over the last 18 years to believe in themselves and find their potential. She shows women how to be in complete partnership with yourself. How can you be in complete partnership? How can you love yourself? And from loving yourself, learn to heal yourself. Learn to give more to others because you've loved yourself so much. She is noted for speaking in numerous conferences, including events like Microsoft, Sky, Invesco. She empowers thousands of women around the world. She's been through multiple transformation and knows what it takes to make deep-rooted changes that sticks and get through tough times and come out on the other side stronger and wiser. Her mission is to make sure that women know their true value and can make the impact they want to make in this world. Well, meet my wonderful guest, Harriet, as she shares her wonderful story and also help you know your true worth and add value to this world. Meet Harriet. Well, hello everyone and welcome to Painless Universal, conversation with myself and Welsh. Once again, today's conversation for you women and even guys out there, I think this conversation would really help you. Are you struggling? Are you sitting down and not thinking, what would I do next? How do I find my purpose? How do I find my inner self? Well, listen to this conversation. My guest, Harriet, will be telling you about her own journey. How did she get here? But before we get started, I'll just read out this little bio because I love it so much. And I read it already, but I have to say it again. She's won Best Storytelling and Most Memorable Speaker at the UK Female Conference in 2019. And she's also given an award for leadership in the world by the Network for Transformation Leaders. She's a certified health coach, women leadership coach, and she's here today and she'll be telling us about her journey. But before we even get started, I want to make her laugh. She always starts her conversation. If you look at any of her YouTube videos, she always asks this question. What knickers did you wear today? Should we ask her that question? Because I really want everyone to say. She starts with this question. Are you wearing an old grey baggy knicker, the kind your mother has always told you not to wear? I mean, if you've seen Bridget Jones' Diary, I think this is something that sticks with us, every woman out there, is that terrifying thing in that image of, what if I have to go A&E in emergency and they have to split me up? What would they see underneath me, Harriet?
I have my usual really amazing knickers on. I only wear really gorgeous underwear because it's so important. It sends such a strong signal to us about our self-worth. It's like it's the first thing you put on in the day. Imagine putting something old and horrible on like that. Is that what the message you want to send yourself? And it's actually one of the quickest ways to find out how a woman really feels about her is to go, right, tell me about your underwear. And actually, when I'm on stage and I start the conversation with asking people about their underwear, and then I'm like, oh, and then I show them a pair of my, I call them my stage knickers. They're not that I wear them on stage, they're the knickers I show on stage, right?
Yeah.
So I always have to, I feel like I have to clarify that, like people are going to go, ooh. But yeah, I think it really says a lot
Yeah.
for people about their self-worth, the quality of the underwear they wear. And of course, by opening any talk like that, straight away people are like, who is this person and what's going to happen next? We started off by talking about knickers, and now she's just shown us a pair of like fluorescent, rather fabulous looking knickers. Like, what is, and so I've kind of got the audience there. So
no, absolutely. Well, you got me there. I literally it captivated me. But before we get started into all of that, your whole message of coaching and everything, how you got into this speaking, being a coach, can you tell us in simple words, who are you?
who am I, gosh, I would say that I am many things. I wear so many different hats and different knickers, actually. I'm a mother. I'm a dog owner. I am an activist. I'm a change catalyst. Um, I am deeply passionate about making sure that women know their own worth, that they can own their brilliance and succeed. And I'm someone who recently declared war on the epidemic of women not feeling good enough, and made a fresh public commitment to do whatever it takes to turn that around. So yes, I do empower women, groups of women, everyone who follows me on socials, all that kind of thing. And in my coaching programs, it's very much about being able to own your brilliance and succeed. But I also do some work on the top down picture, because I think that there's only so much you can do from the bottom up with individuals, and actually the cultural conditions, the systemic conditions, whether that's in corporate or in society at large, are not favorable for women. Actually, yes, we've come a long way, but that doesn't mean that there's also a very long way to go. So yeah, and I think it's my passion for that, coming from a place of having experienced life, of feeling deeply not good enough and it almost killing me, actually quite a long time ago now, that has taken me here, and going, I don't really seeing what the world is like when women don't feel good enough, and imagining a world where, what would the world be like when women, it doesn't occur to women that they or their bodies aren't good enough, where they know, accept and celebrate their true value and potential, and then go on to fulfill it. What will that be like for individuals, but also what will that be like for the whole of humanity and for the planet? It'll be amazing. So yeah, I know you said to be short, but sorry.
No,
Not sorry.
I
Sorry, not
love that.
sorry.
I love that. Harriet, if you look at your background, normally our callings is always something that led us from our background. Something must have said to you, this is why you feel there's a need, there's a gap to help women. Is there something in your background that led you to this path?
Oh, definitely. Number one, I am a woman living in a patriarchal world that can be quite oppressive for women, let alone women who tick some of the other boxes, women of color, women of different sexualities, different abilities, different ages. There's so many different intersectional factors there. But I think even before I was doing this professionally, I'd spent 10 years alongside my investment career, actually, mentoring young women who had drug and alcohol problems and helping them to turn their lives around. And really underpinning so much, so many of the problems, was how they felt about themselves. And then it turns out that it doesn't matter whether it's someone who's come from a really deprived, perhaps trauma-ridden background, or someone who's had a really rather lovely upbringing and is vastly successful now. Deep down underneath, almost every single woman doubts herself and doesn't feel good enough in one way or another. And having seen the very dark side of quite where that can take you if you run with it and you let it control you, I don't want any other women to go through that. And I also think that the planet and humanity will really benefit when women don't feel that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your journey started on one of the, trouble we women tend to suffer from is that we tend to have breast cancer because we have breasts and many women don't know about it. They don't even know how to diagnose it. They hear about it. I think this is the misconception with a lot of women. We'd say, oh, check your breast, do this, do this, do this. You were diagnosed with breast cancer. Can you share a little bit about your breast cancer journey? How did you know you had breast cancer?
Well, you know what? I noticed that something wasn't right. I was really lucky. I happened to be wearing a flesh-coloured bra, a very nice one, because I only wear nice underwear. However, luckily that day I was wearing a flesh-coloured bra, and I had a little bit of slightly strange discharge, and I thought that's not right. So I started to just prod about a bit, and I was like, oh, this isn't. It just, my gut instinct told me that something wasn't right. And actually, both a first cousin of mine and her mother, who's my aunt, have had breast cancer. And my cousin is only a few years older than me. And then on another, that was on my father's side of the family, and on my mother's side of the family, and there was a history of ovarian cancer and things like that. So I had already been a few years earlier to for the genetic mapping, where they tell you whether you're higher risk or not. And they didn't say I was very high risk, but they did say that I was high enough risk that I was already having earlier than normal mammograms annually. So it was kind of already in my mind to watch out. And I think it's one of the joys of living a conscious life where you take care of yourself and you really love yourself, is that when you spot something that's a red flag, that you pay attention to it, right? And so I paid attention to it, and I thought, I'll give it 2 days, and if it doesn't get better, I'll call the doctor. So it didn't get better. I called my doctor's receptionist and I explained the situation, and she said, oh, we haven't got any appointments for 2 weeks or something. And I was like, oh, could you just run this past the doctor? So I don't know what happened. She called me back 10 minutes later and said, can you come now? I was like, yeah, I'll come now. So I went in, and then I was referred on and had the tests, and they even did some biopsies, and they said 100% you do not have breast cancer. You have something benign. It's a pain, but we should do some minor surgery to take it out, because in 10 years' time, it might cause some problems. So I was like, okay, that sounds annoying, but let's do it, kind of thing. Had the surgery, didn't think anything more of it. And it was only when I went for my checkup 3 weeks later, just literally expecting to be told, you're healing really nicely, go and get on with the rest of your life, to be told we didn't find what we thought we were going to find. We thought we were going to find, and actually this is what we found. And it was then that I was given the news, and it was literally like entering an alternate reality. And I think I started to dissociate, I started to panic. And after a few minutes, I stopped the doctor and I said, I'm not listening to any of this, I'm panicking and I'm not okay, and you're going to need to start again. So they encouraged me to call a girlfriend, which I did. And luckily she was free. She came straight away. And then once she was there and I'd calmed down a bit, we started the conversation again. And then it went from there. And there was a few very scary weeks, maybe a month actually, where the news carried on getting worse. And we didn't know what you kind of, your mind starts to race, and you're thinking, have I had my last birthday? What's going to happen to my kids? Like, all this stuff starts going through your mind, because you hear the word cancer and I don't know about you, the you out there, but me, I was, it was pretty scary. It was quite hard to hold on to my faith, and hard to sometimes to stay in the moment of it. But once all the tests have been done, and we knew exactly how, what needed to be done, then it was actually quite a quick decision in terms of, okay, this is the surgery we'll do, this is the kind of reconstruction we'll do, and to take it from there, really. And then I had 9 hours of surgery, and and here I am now, 3 years later. And
Oh, that's good.
And I was very, very lucky because even though there was quite a lot of it, it hadn't spread. So I did not need any chemo or radiotherapy. And I know that not everyone's that lucky, but I do think partly that's because I paid attention to the very first sign that I saw and followed it up quickly, because I do know people who've kind of ignored it and hoped it would go away. And then 6 months later, they've gone. And by then it's more advanced. So I think there's a lot to be said for trusting your body. And when it gives you a really clear sign, it's because you're supposed to see it and you're supposed to act on it.
I love what you said, trusting your body. Because a
Yep.
lot of us see it's all this sign and we know that this is not usual. Something is wrong here. But in our mind, we're thinking, oh, tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, let's keep going. And you really saved yourself from further damages, because by the time, who knows if this type would have spread out. So after the surgery, what happened next? How did you recover from it?
Lovingly. That's how I recovered from it, patiently and lovingly, I would say. I even when I was still in the hospital for a week, I was using a lot of mind-body connection techniques, sending my body a lot of love and kindness, because that releases oxytocin, which is anti-inflammatory. So whenever I was hurting, I would send love to the part of me that was hurting, rather than if you get stressed, you release cortisol, which is inflammatory, so it will slow down your healing. Even to the point where the doctors were coming in going, what are you doing? Why are you not getting this thing? You know, there's some kind of weird watery, I can't remember what it's called, that over 90% of women get after that surgery, and I didn't get it. And I was healing really fast and all this kind of stuff. And so I told them what I was doing, and they're like, oh, that's a bit funny. I think they thought I was weird, but it worked for me. Just again, tune into my body, love, be on my own side. I think that's the most important thing throughout life. You've got to be on your own side. So I was on my own side. I was reassuring to myself. I listened. If I needed to rest, I rested. Whatever I needed, that's what I got. And yeah, and I think there were times when it was distressing. There were times when it was exhausting. I mean, I was exhausted for about a year. And there were times when it was frustrating, because I was like, oh, I just want to be able to go and do blah blah blah, but I couldn't. So there was quite a fair bit of surrender and acceptance and all that kind of stuff that went on. But it was also a really big wake-up call, actually. It was that moment, I suppose, a bit like a midlife crisis, really, where you realize that it's not a rehearsal. You know, this is it. This is your chance. This is your life. What are you going to do with it? And aside from my children, who are my biggest concern, it was a case of, well, what if this really is it? And all of the women that I could help, all of the people who need to know about my work, who need the ways that I can see the world needs to be changed. What if that doesn't happen? And for me, I was like, okay, it was this real, like, okay, that's not going to happen. Assuming I come out the other end of this, like, we're really going to go, you know, once I'm better, then it's really time to go for it.
Wow.
Yeah, and play even bigger than before. But I mean, that said, you know, I was already, you know, I already had my business. I was already speaking a lot and changing a lot of lives before that, but still.
So this is where reality kicks in, because then everything you're preaching to others, the coaching thing you're giving others, you actually now having to coach yourself to love yourself more, coach yourself to find your inner part, inner joy, inner everything that we could give ourselves. You know, the love we're giving out there. This is one time you have to take that love and say, okay, guys, I have to take a break here, because my own soul, my own purpose, my own mind, my body needs me. So that was nice. I think you learned some lesson from the coaching side. But yeah, one thing I do like is that, you know, you did the surgery, and after the surgery, I'm not quite sure how yours turned out, because a lot of people are disfigured from it because they have to take out a lot of fat tissue, and sometimes the nipple tape comes out. In your circumstances, what happened with that, and why did you go about with the tattoo?
Well, so basically, yeah, so I did lose my nipple, and they used my entire tummy for the reconstruction. So they left the skin that was there, but they kind of like sort of it's going to sound a bit gruesome, a bit like hollowing out a pumpkin, right? They took out everything from the inside and then they used my entire tummy, a bit like having a tummy tuck, and they moved all of that tissue inside. So you can't tell, well, I know I've got a black top on, but you can't tell through clothes that one is different from the other. But obviously there's scars and different texture. And I think initially there was a process of real grief, then there was a process of acceptance, and eventually I got to a place of love and compassion. But I didn't feel particularly beautiful or particularly sexy at all. And the one of my surgeons, I had two surgeons, taking away surgeon and then putting back together surgeon. So my putting back together surgeon, who was fantastic and had black nail polish and she was very cool actually. She was telling me about the different options. You know, we can tattoo a picture of a nipple, we can create a fake nipple, and you can get a tattoo to color it. And I was kind of like, why would I get a picture of a nipple? Like, that seems weird. Why would I not get a picture of something else? Like, if I'm going to get a picture. And so I started researching that and started a Pinterest board. And then I suddenly came across this one picture that changed everything. And it was the most beautiful post breast cancer tattoo I had ever seen. And I eventually tracked down the artist who'd done it. And it turns out that he's world famous for this work, and it's his speciality and and there's been exhibitions and all kinds of things. So I looked up his website and was like, wow, yes, this is the person. But he was in Chicago, and I was like, oh, you know, okay, might have to go to Chicago. And and it's an application process. Well, it used to be on his website. Obviously, don't know with the pandemic what he's doing now. But I filled out the whole form, and you had to write lots of stuff about what it would mean to you and like all the medical stuff. And then right at the bottom, just before you hit send, it said that you had to attach photos. And I was like, but it goes against every instinct. That why would I send a strange man pictures of my boobs on the internet, right? It's like everything they've told you never to do. Yeah. But I was like, oh, okay. So I was like, and I hid my face with a towel. So I was like, okay, so yeah, just in case he was just some kind of weirdo, right? But he wasn't a weirdo at all. And he eventually got back to me, and we had it all booked in. And then I got a phone call from him several months before that, saying that he was going to be in London doing some promotional work, and as part of that he was going to be on some TV show. You've probably never heard of it, and they were talking about him tattooing someone on the show. And because he knew I did public speaking and I was already hosting, you know, Love Your Body retreats, and he felt I was probably reasonably articulate and could kind of get through the process, he invited me to be the person if I wanted to do it. And so I thought about it, and you know what, again, I didn't make the decision. I tuned into my body and said, what do you think? Is this okay? And I'd expected my body to go, are you joking? No. And instead I got this, yes, that sounds like loads of fun. Let's do it. So I was like, okay. Yeah. And then it was only a few days later, I found myself in the This Morning studio being tattooed all over my breast, live on national television. But the incredible thing is, because tattoos are quite painful, is that because all the tissue was scooped out and it was replaced with kind of tummy fat, there's no nerves. So I couldn't feel it. It was not painful at all, apart from right around the very edges where I would suddenly start yelping. But otherwise, it was actually a really fun experience, really, really fun experience. And of course, then getting to talk, you know, about the experience and that feeling of having reclaimed my body. So now I've got a beautiful piece of art with a great story behind it. And that did mark the moment of really feeling like I'd reclaimed my body, feeling as though I was, you know, beautiful and maybe even sexy again. Yeah.
Now, when you think about it, and anyone listening, would you encourage them to go that path of getting it tattooed? Well, how has this helped with your body confidence?
I would encourage any woman who's gone through any kind of surgery or feels like her body's disfigured or anything to really tune into what feels loving and honoring for them, because what's right for me may not be right for somebody else. And it's about tuning in and saying, does this feel like love? Does it feel safe? Does it feel exciting? Will it get me where I want to be? How do I want to feel afterwards about myself? Because your body might say no. You might think this is a great idea, because actually I did this before I decided how the reconstruction was going to be done, because I could have just had an implant. And when they said, oh no, we could use your tummy, but it's a much bigger surgery, I was like, so the way I made that decision was to tune into my tummy and ask my tummy what it thought. And I got an extraordinary response. So I do think it's really important that each individual honors themselves, but just know you can, no matter what you've been through, you can reclaim your body, and you can move forward to a new kind of relationship with your body. I don't like talking about going back to how things were before, because I think you can't ever quite be the same again. But it's about saying, how do I want to feel in the future about myself, and go on a journey of co-creation with your body about making that happen, that's driven by love and self-respect and all those good things.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to bring you back to your coaching again, because I think women want to hear, you've had multiple transformation in your businesses over the years, right? And this has helped you to make deep-rooted changes that you see. You've done the different businesses, but you understand that to make real change, we need a deep-rooted one. And this is something I found on your website. And you said you could get through tough times when you come out stronger and wiser. How have you been able to come out stronger and wiser when making decisions?
Well, I think, do you know what's interesting is that the transformations I've been through, yes, I've been through a couple of career transformations, but I think the biggest transformations I've been through have been more personal, actually. My first career was in investment management, and then my current career is in empowering women through speaking, coaching, and culture change. I do think that whatever you've been through, it's important to learn through what you've been through, and also to take the lessons with you, and not to see whatever you've experienced, good, bad, success, failure, is to see it all as the kind of gathering of wisdom and experiences as you go along, especially the things that may not have worked out how you would have liked, and not to feel ashamed of them, and say, well, yeah, you know what, I've learned that when you're trying to run a project like blah blah blah, always do this, otherwise you're in for a nasty surprise later. And that's okay. I would say that, it's fine to make mistakes, but try to make new mistakes rather than repeating the old mistakes, and to learn from them. And in that way you can come out stronger, wiser, more certain, more experienced. It's when we let our experiences that might look less than perfect, when we let them be a source of shame, then they make you weaker. Yeah.
How can we get really empowered to believe in ourselves more and to find out our true potential?
How long have you got? I think that this is about focusing on what I call the Own Your Brilliance piece, which I go into a lot of detail in my programs. And there's a program at the moment I'm about to start running called the Women's Success Accelerator, where there's a huge Own Your Brilliance piece, and it's about getting rid of all the limiting beliefs, getting rid of the stuff that's happened in the past, and then getting super clear, like, who am I? What do I bring to the table? What is all my experience? What are my talents? What's my personality? What's my values? All of these things, and setting it all down and saying, okay, I'm not who my head might sometimes tell me that I am, or that I fear I might be. I am this spectacular person, and this is what I'm brilliant at, and this is what I bring to the world, and this is the change I want to make in the world, or whatever it is you want to achieve. Because it's so easy to focus on all the things you're not, but I think it's much more supportive to focus on all that you are. And to keep noticing all the ways in which you're creating success in your life or showing up for life, and all that you're learning, and celebrate along the way. I think ultimately it's about getting on your own side. Ultimately, it's about being honest with yourself. Yeah.
I love your quote on your website. It says, your mission is to make sure women know their true value. And I think this is something a lot of women are struggling with and can make the impact they want to live in this world. Where does a woman true value lies?
It lies in the fact that she's alive. You're alive, you're here, you have value. That's it. It's not more complicated than that. And I think we can make it more complicated than that and think that our value is in how we look, how much we earn, what handbag we've got. No, it's in none of that. You're here, you have value, you're precious, you're special, you're unique, you have a lot to offer. That's it.
Yeah, I love it, because we try to make life complicated unnecessarily. We try to say our values by what we're giving to society, how many kids we bring to the world, how many you said it, how many handbags we are, what level of career, how could we compete more with our friends, how can we get to a level that is really, you're just alive.
Yeah, and it's very patriarchal, this idea that your worth is in how many assets you have, or what you're wearing, or how, it's that, and it's very capitalist.
Yes.
It's about more, and all that does is make you feel less, and things like diet culture, racism, so many different things that are deeply negative and negative for women, are born of that, putting your value in external things. Your value is inside. Yes. And yeah, we exist, therefore we have value. That's it.
So I listened to only one of your conversation, and one of the things I really find fascinating is that you really approach the teaching of women differently. Most people just do it, but you even the way you talked about your breast cancer, you said, I taught myself to love and heal and listen to myself. And I think sometimes this is something we miss in ourselves, because we want to be so busy, want to be consumed with doing so much things, we forget to take a sit back, listen to what your environment is even telling you, what yourself, what you are, what it's telling you. And you have this great approach to helping women master being empowered, where they can leave their self-doubts and find new ways of thinking. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yes. It's ultimately, this is about the journey from the head to the heart, and from the ego, where the fear lives, into your soul, into your heart. But it does require mindset shifts. It does require work. And again, I think a lot of it comes down to the own your brilliance piece, of really knowing who you are and getting clear on that, rather than focusing on all that you're not. And part of that will come in filtering the more toxic influences that might be external, and saying and doing things like, reject diet culture, reject certain aspects of the culture that's out there that's making you feel inadequate, and go, hold on a minute, this is just a belief system, it's just a structure that's designed to control me. I can decide that I reject that. And once you see it for what it is, it's very powerful. And you filter your influences, and who or what is allowed to give you feedback as well, because I think that's very important. Sometimes we take feedback from people we would never go to for advice and things like that, which is super important. So yeah, I think this business of being empowered is about knowing your value, but it's also about living your life in a way that says, I have value and my needs matter. Because if we're tired, if we're depleted on any level, then it's hard to show up and stay empowered. So we have to know that we have enough value that our own batteries must be charged, in order for us to serve and give, rather than to think, oh, I'll charge my batteries later. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't leave your phone on 5% and expect it to work all day, yet we do that to ourselves. So and I think that charging your batteries is on, it's on way more than the physical level as well. It's on the emotional level, the spiritual level, the social level, the creative level. There are many different levels in which we need to charge our batteries. So when you know what makes your batteries full, you can make sure that you're doing that.
Yeah.
On a regular basis. Yeah. And
I like
that helps you to stay empowered. And it feeds your sense of self-belief as well. It's like, oh, I deserve to take care of myself. I deserve to put boundaries up. I deserve to make sure I get enough sleep, whatever it is.
I like the way that you're described as this superpower. If you to be one superhero today, what would you be?
I'd be love.
Really?
There's no greater superpower than love.
I guess you just go spreading love around and making people love themselves a little bit more and appreciate themselves. Yeah,
yes.
I agree. Yeah. That's a nice one. I've never thought of that. Love. I mean, love, that's really unique. Finally, Harriet, before I let you go, every woman needs that inner belief, that inner superpower, that inner strength to find really her true self. You're really about coaching this, helping women find who they truly are. And when you say this, I think it brings me back to the beginning, your knickers. So it's not what you say, it's not just about what is on the outside, but it's also how it translates into the inside, how you feel on the inside. How can we mirror with everything going on in society, where the world is all about social media and everything? The first thing you see every morning is those images that are so picture perfect. So everyone looks this perfect, but on the inside, we know deep inside, not everyone is perfect. People are burning up inside. How can we match now to start thinking about our inside more rather than the outside, or even balance both so they have equal love?
I think it's really important when you're engaging with media and social media to remember that it's other people's marketed, photoshopped, filtered highlights reel. And that if you compare your insides to that kind of outsides, it's a game you can never win. I actually call that game compare and despair. So you can never win. And so you have to take it with a pinch of salt, a bit like when you're reading a magazine and you're like, well, I know that model's picture is photoshopped. She doesn't even look like that. So I'm not going to compare myself to her. It's about, it does come back to loving kindness. And it comes back to being willing to show up authentically and appropriately, because different situations will have different levels of appropriateness, but to show who you really are, to be real, to be human, faults, experience and everything and all, so that it gives other people permission to do so. So you can say, this is my, like I do, I'm like, this is the thing. You know, I teach women to own their brilliance and shine, to get on their own side, to love themselves, you know, to succeed. Don't ask me to do the tech. Please don't ask me to do the tech. I am terrible at tech. And it's okay to be someone who's really good at some things, and let the other people who are great at tech, let them shine at tech. You know, we don't have to be brilliant at everything. And that's part of how we really succeed and shine, is to say, well, actually, this is my gift, this is my thing, and I'm going to do that, and let everyone else do that bit, and then together we will all, you know, we'll all be amazing together.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, Harriet.
You're welcome.
This is amazing. Thank you.